Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
And I'm D White.
Today on the new party, we're going to be showing clips from the Andrew Tate and Paris Morgan interview where they discuss the UK riots. Andrew Tate has been saying a lot of controversial things. I'm going to play the first clip where he talks about his position on the UK riots and why they're saying that he incited them.
Decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that this is a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-aged males, combatants, to flood our shores. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Now that video has been viewed 15.1 million times. X limited the post's visibility because of its rules on hateful conduct. But the bottom line, Andrew, is that almost everything you said in that video was completely untrue. And yet it was apparently seized upon online, spread wide.
He was a 17-year-old male who was a migrant. He did kill little girls. And advocating for people to stand outside and make it clear that they're unhappy with what happened is not a dangerous ideology. We live in a democracy where we have the right to protest and the right to make it clear when our voices are not heard. I recently protested against the Olympic ceremony outside the French embassy. I'm not sure if you saw it, complaining about how they depicted Jesus Christ, because I was unhappy with what I saw. And I think that when people feel like they have a voice, they're not likely to get violent. And the problem we have now is that people do not have a voice, which is why we're seeing rioting, which is why we're seeing looting, because people do not feel like there's a political solution any longer. And what I was trying to do is encourage people to stand up and make their voice heard in a peaceful way to avoid violence. Because when people feel like they're not heard, violence is always the end result.
Yeah, but you've actually had the complete opposite effect. And you know the massive following that you have and the influence that you can wield. And by spreading, I mean, again, you've repeated the fact this kid who has obviously now been.
So the question is, are social media influencers responsible for when violence erupts? Gray, what do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily say social media influencers, but I would say Andrew Tate is probably involved with quite a few men, especially young white men who are sitting at home in the basement playing video games, upset at women, and seeing what he says and acting out on violence. I'm pretty sure there are some cases where people have listened to him and have went out and committed violent acts. And I'd like to correct that the person who he talked about was born in the UK. And as far as the Olympics thing, that's already been proven that that's not true. So he's pushing false information. And I feel like that's the main problem with his platform. What about you, D?
Well, I actually don't. I don't think that we should be able to hold everybody responsible for what everyone else does. It's, I hate to go back to the January 6th thing, but like I just going to use that as an example. Trump told those guys to go protest peacefully, and it got out of hand. So you can't hold him responsible. And just like Andrew Tate didn't say that anyone should go hurt anybody. He didn't advocate for any violence. He said, make your voice heard. And we can't blame him for how people chose to make their voice heard. I don't think that's his fault. Everybody's adults. They should be responsible for their own actions. And again, he makes another point. If you watch I don't know if you have the clip, Nora, but he speaks about how half of the population see people that's born in that country but born of another race. They don't see them. They don't see them as Englishmen. They see them as immigrants, even though they were born there. And he made another point saying, like, if me or you want to go to China and get a Chinese lady pregnant, they wouldn't see our baby as a Chinese baby. Our baby wouldn't be Chinese to them, and that's true. Most of the world don't see everybody like that. So I mean, he was no, the person wasn't a foreign-born immigrant, but he is of immigrant descent.
Right.
What
Well,
about you,
I have a
Laura?
different perspective. I agree that people should not be responsible for what someone like someone can't say, Nora, you should go murder this person and then I go do it. If I go do it, that's on me. Like I think there needs to be personal responsibility. I don't think Andrew Tate is the reason for these riots. But however, my thing is, and we can get into this later about who's a citizen or who's not. I do have the clips. We'll get into that later on my opinion on that. But I think people need to take personal responsibility. And I don't think Andrew Tate is the fault for it. I think Andrew Tate is saying things to make people think. And I think people are using him as a scapegoat so they can censor people online, which is what England's literally doing right now. Because then if we can say, well, this person's responsible for it, then we have to arrest this person for it. Then basically we're censored. We can't say certain thoughts if it's against what the British government's doing. And that's the future that's happening right now, and I'm scared that that's going to happen here in the United States. So the next clip that we have is Andrew Tate discussing, did his tweets cause the protests?
That's what I think a lot of people don't understand. We call people hateful all the time for having a point of view, especially when they get out on the street because they feel like they need to express it. A lot of these people were not hateful. A lot of these people were full of love and they were full of concern. I
You've
put up that
literally
cartoon,
encouraged
absolutely
people
true.
to feel hateful. You've encouraged
How?
people to feel hateful because you've encouraged people to believe the person that did this crime, this alleged person that did it, because it's going to court. We have to let the process do its due process. But the person who's been charged with the crimes of killing these poor girls is not an illegal migrant. But you wanted to demonize illegal migrants by what you've been doing in the last week. You wanted people to believe this was one of the people who come over on a boat illegally into this country, part of the so-called invasion. And here's the interesting thing about your position with regard to your conversion to Islam and becoming a Muslim. Muslims, as you know, have been ranting about you for the last few days to horrible Islamophobic anti-Muslim rhetoric all week. And yet you have not distanced yourself from him. So the Muslim community in the UK now view you as part of the enemy too. You know that. How do you feel about that?
Well, I pray for my brothers, and I think the information I've seen and the replies I've seen have not been hateful from the Islamic community. Saying to Tommy Robinson that I will debate him on issues, I don't think is failing to distance myself. I debate you all the time, Piers, and we disagree on basically everything. I'm happy to argue with Tommy because we disagree on so many different points of view, and I think it's very important that we have conversation. The reason these riots are happening in the first place is because everybody's afraid to talk. I'm prepared to sit down with somebody I don't like and don't agree with.
That's complete nonsense.
I'm prepared to talk to Tommy.
That's nonsense. The reason the riots are happening is people like you and Tommy Robinson have been spewing utter disinformation, which has led people to believe that the person that perpetrated these despicable crimes was an illegal.
Is he the reason for the riots? Gray, what do you think?
I'd like to go back to 2016 to Pizzagate, when this guy went down a YouTube rabbit hole and he truly believed this pizza shop had a pedophile ring and that they were attacking minors. And then he actually went and got firearms and attacked the pizza shop and was arrested. Some of these people, have mental illnesses or don't go out into the world or believe some of the stuff that is being said. If I came outside and I said, hey, everybody that eats avocado is a demon, somebody might believe that and start killing people eating avocado. It sounds crazy, but people really do believe stuff. So you have to tell the truth because you can tell somebody a lie and they can act on it. What do you think,
Okay,
D?
so I want to follow up with you before you go to him.
Yeah.
Do you think that people should be banned to say certain things online?
If you come out and you say something that is completely false that will cause harm to somebody, you should absolutely be banned.
All right, go ahead, Dave.
I am 100% against that. We live in a nation where our forefathers, the first thing that they decided to write down when they were writing the rules of America, our Constitution, is the freedom of speech. It is the First
Amen.
Amendment, first one, more important than your guns, more important than your property rights, more important than anything else, is the right to disagree with the powerful and to get your point across. Because if we can't have discourse in the world, we don't have no. We're no better than animals. We might as well just let the strongest person just go around and do whatever he wants. Because that's what you're suggesting. It might
We
not
can't
seem like
have
that.
discourse in the world. We're no better than communist China and Russia, which is who we're
Yeah,
allegedly
but
sending all this money to fight against.
that is 100% true. And right now in England, they're in the UK, they're locking people up for
Yes.
saying stuff on Facebook, for saying stuff on social media. And right now in Canada, they're locking people up for the same exact thing, saying for
Yes.
posting something on the internet that anything could be seen as hate speech. If I say I hate the Dallas Cowboys, they suck, and I hate all they fans, that could be interpreted as hate speech to somebody. Somebody could
Yes.
feel like I really hurt them personally. It's going to affect their day to day, and I can be held responsible for that. It seems stupid now until it's happening. I always say that.
Well, you know what, buddy? Let's give a visual, okay?
Yeah.
This is the visual of what's happening because I don't think Gray believes it, and I don't think
Arresting
people are going to
you
believe
on
it.
suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network under
What?
Section 127 of the Communications Act. Okay, so you do not have to say that may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being
You're going
arrested.
to be arrested, okay?
Right,
Take
and-
you up to the police station.
Right.
Ask you, okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets, Thomas?
I've got my keys. That's about it, I think. Keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 of the Police and Criminal Act.
Right.
And that's for dangerous items.
Hey, you said I was going to be arrested under some what information? I'm going to be
We've had
arrested for
reports that
posting on
you've made
Facebook.
some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's
Well, made a
Can
complaint.
you tell me what this
Facebook
comment
account in your
was?
name.
We'll do
Okay,
that
well,
in
we'll
an
do that when
interview.
we interview you.
All right. And so,
Okay.
what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully
Well,
not.
hopefully not.
Right, do I need to
Unless
take
you
my
film
medications
us.
with me?
How,
Yes, we will look at taking all of those.
When do you need to take them?
Well, I've got pain medication.
So yeah, I mean, the guy they won't even tell him what post it was. He doesn't even know.
Yeah,
Well,
the
that
only reason the only reason that this hasn't come to America yet is because we're the most heavily armed population on the planet. We have more guns than a lot of countries' military have, just in our day-to-day citizens. And
Right.
like we got Kamala Harris. I know this isn't about her, but she wants to push mandatory gun buybacks. Key word in there, mandatory. That means that I'm going to take your guns, I'm going to give you a check, but you don't have a say so about me getting your guns because I'm leaving with your guns. I'm just giving you this money so you don't just say I took them. But it's mandatory gun buyback. If we didn't have the guns here, I believe they already be doing that to us here, man.
I agree.
if us not knowing what he said, it's like not really. I can't really make any comment because I don't know what he said. He could have threatened the prime minister. It could have been something like pretty severe. So I mean, these social media websites are free. They make money off advertisements. So when you accept the terms of use, when you go on a social media platform, you're accepting that you could possibly be banned and all types of other stuff. Like, prime example, I tried to follow a bunch of people for business purposes. And you got mad at me, Nora, for the Twitter getting banned because I kept following people for business needs. So it's not just like they just attacking people on what they said. It's even the business practices that they feel as immoral that you can be banned for. So there's them as a private company. They should
But
be.
that's banned. That's
Yeah,
not
that has
getting
nothing to do
arrested.
with the police. Exactly. Facebook
Right.
didn't send the police there to get them. It was the government who
No.
did that.
Yes, but what I'm saying is this is your own Facebook, right? You know where you go in there, you say accept the terms, the thing that none of us
Right.
read. I'm pretty sure in there they say, hey, we can give your information to law enforcement if we feel like you're going to be a harm to someone or someone else. Like on the video games, I don't know if y'all know about the video games. There's a big thing where they'll get in an argument with a person on the video game, and then they'll call the SWAT team to somebody's house and have somebody's
Swatted.
house swatted. Yeah, you heard about that? So yeah, like this whole digital sphere has to be regulated in some type of way. There has to be some form of regulation.
Well, if you're okay with it, then good for you. I personally would not vote for that. If that legislation was ever up to be voted for, I would vote against it. And in fact, the next clip I'm going to get into talks about why are we voting in people that's enforcing things that we don't agree with. Andrew Tate said nobody voted to send money to the Ukraine. Let's see what he has to say.
Billions of dollars to Ukraine. Nobody voted for it. Nobody wants it. And everybody's struggling to pay their bills. Energy prices are through the roof. Inflation is through the roof. Now they no longer feel safe on their streets. They don't want to put their daughters outside to play. The police won't protect them. The police won't turn up for most crimes unless it's something you say bad on Facebook. And when they look for a political solution, they're ignored. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? This is nothing but a leadership failure. There's not a country in the world where leadership could fail this spectacularly and see any
Andrew,
different result.
All right. But once again, Andrew, you are spouting nonsense in what you've just said. Not all of it, but some of it is nonsense. You say, for example, nobody voted for the UK to support Ukraine. We've literally just voted Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom with a landslide majority, and he made it crystal clear before that election that he would be contributing billions of our pounds to help the people of Ukraine thwart a Russian.
Listen, everybody that's not thinking about voting, I want you to remember that clip. If people are voted in that's sending money to the Ukraine, that's not affecting, not improving inflation, that's keeping our borders open, your vote or lack thereof went towards that. And that is a great point he just made. D, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. People got to hold their politicians accountable for all kind of stuff. I mean, the American people have overwhelmingly 75%. They did oppose. I don't know if it's the same today, but I know in the height of us sending money to Ukraine, they did a poll on America. 75% of Americans across all political parties oppose the continuous sending money to Ukraine. Yet our Congress still did it. They still did it. They didn't care what the people said. And I think that's just outrageous, man. We gotta start holding our politicians accountable for what the choices that they make that affect the American people.
When you vote people in a parliament or you vote for the people in the Congress, whenever you give them your vote, that's when you voted for them to make whatever decision that they want to make when they're in that setting in government. And I'd like to talk about World War II when Hitler went to France and they signed, and he said he wasn't going to invade, then he ended up invading. Ukraine has now invaded Russia, is attacking Russian targets. So that money was very well spent. And Vladimir Putin is in a precarious situation. I saw his face when he heard that they had been attacked, that he had to evacuate people, and how many targets had been hit, and their special forces had been captured. So shout out to Ukraine. Great job.
They are so corrupt. Shout out to your tax money going towards Ukrainian oligarchs getting rich.
Yes.
Because that's really what's going on.
Yeah. So
But
six
I
billion
digress.
dollars of the money. $6 billion of the money has been unaccounted for. They don't know what happened to it or where it went.
I'd rather the money go to Israel at this point, because at least with Israel, you know they're really using it to go fight. I don't believe they're siphoning it off to go to do whatever. And I say that with my tongue in cheek because I don't think we should be supporting them either. But the point I'm making is, at least with Israel, I truly believe it's going toward their defense. That's the difference.
I definitely think that America could use the money. I'm sure we could find a lot of ways to use $6 billion to improve the lives of our citizens here. Me personally.
Our children, our kids went back to school today. I got to buy them lunch. There's no free lunch. We can't even get free lunch for our kids, much less.
Vote for
Yeah,
Tim
well,
Walsh if you want free lunch.
also vote for Tim Walsh if you want your little boys to have access to tampons in the
Tampons.
bathrooms at school.
Vote for Tim Walz if you want billions and trillions of dollars to go to Ukraine. Next will be Taiwan. I prediction Taiwan will be who we're sending the money to next in the next 2 years. They're going to create something with Taiwan. Anyways, moving on. The next clip goes back to what Dee was talking about. Are people born in the UK British? Let's see what they have to say.
Only countries in the world where we will accept somebody born in the country, even if they have a different genetic lineage, are from that country. If you are born in China and you are not Chinese by appearance, they will never consider you Chinese.
But what do you think? What do you think?
Let me answer. But it's not about what I think, sir. Because there's a dichotomy within inside of the Western democracies, and this is extremely clear. If you do believe that somebody born in the country, irregardless of their genetic lineage, is from that country, the only way you can have a society function in this manner is if all people are fairly politically represented and if there is no two-tier policing. If you're going to allow anybody to turn up to a country, be born, become from that country, get preferential treatment in the political system and the judicial system, you are going to have outrage and you are going to have riots. If we're going to accept, sir, that people who are born inside of the UK at any point are from there, and that is their country, then it's even more
the force of the law in exactly the same equitable manner. But just to be clear, do you personally, Andrew Tate, believe if you're born in the United Kingdom, you're British or not?
Personally, I don't think my personal views have anything to do with it, and I think they'll just distract from the point I made. The point I made is that
literally put your personal views out morning, noon, and night. So why are you dodging the question?
Because I don't think my personal views are that interesting. I think I could say my personal views. Yes, I believe if you're born in the UK, that you're from the UK. However,
you do. Okay.
However,
fine. No,
however,
no,
sir,
no, no.
however,
There's no however.
But,
you've answered the question. You believe they are British. So after that long.
So I think for me, like again, I have a different perspective on this. I think the chickens have come home to roost for UK. I think that they took for many years from many African nations, many Caribbean Black nations around the world, and it's interesting to me. So my question is, I think it's a little different than saying, for example, are people born here American citizens? The answer is yes, because of our Constitution. I'm sure the answer would be yes for the UK because of their Constitution, but also, were those people under their rule? Because for me, if they were, they're British citizens to me. Gray, what do you think?
Yeah, as an African American, a slave 400 some years ago came here as my ancestor. I don't know anything about Africa. I've never been to Africa, so I consider myself an American citizen. America's all I know. So I would basically say if you're born somewhere, that you are an American citizen. If you're born there, if
Right.
you're born wherever, Thailand, China, South Korea, doesn't matter what you look like. That's probably all you know if you're born there. And I think that that's a great law that we should abide by.
Exactly. I think that discussion, even though it's related to the UK that they had, I think it applies to America. I mean, people love to say, oh, they're anchor babies, but the Constitution says if you're born here, you're an American citizen, whether your parents were immigrants or not. I didn't make the law. The Constitution says that.
I absolutely agree on that. And if you start saying that people who are born there are actual American citizens, I think that's going to completely complicate things because then you're basically telling people who they can have children with at that point.
Right.
What do you think, D?
I'm sorry. I was having a little technical difficulties with this headset. I just got back in, so I missed the
It was a
last couple
thing you
minutes of the
brought up.
conversation.
It was a thing
It's
you
the
brought
thing
up.
you brought up. Are people born in UK British, or the people born in the United States American?
Okay, well, I'm currently in America, so I can't speak for what the British believe. But I believe in America, we've already established that anyone born on American soil is American. Do I 100% agree with that? I don't. because there's people who come over here for a thing they call anchor babies. They come over here and they have their babies just so their baby gets citizenship, so that they can stay with their baby. Do I think that that's right? I don't, but I don't make the rules. So, but I do agree that we have come to a consensus in America that if you're born here, that makes you a citizen. But like I say, I don't know how the British feel about that.
Well, I guess you can relate to the left people that want to say they don't agree with the Second Amendment to have guns. Listen, it comes down to what's in the Constitution, whether we agree or not. It's there. So the
Yes,
guns are here to stay, and the anchor babies are too.
correct, correct. I, I agree that we should uphold the Constitution. That's what I agree. Whenever in doubt, defer back to the Constitution.
Um, so the next clip talks about Nick Fuentes. Um, does he agree with Nick Fuentes? Um, uh, Gray D, do you know who Nick Fuentes is?
He's a right wing, white supremacist, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add about him before I play the clip?
No, I don't agree with all of Nick Fuentes' views, and I do think he is somewhat of a racist. I do believe that, and I personally don't throw that title out, you know, willy nilly. I don't do that, but just because we have different beliefs about certain stuff, don't mean we can't also share commonality. And I do agree with some of the stuff he says. I'm not apologizing for him or anything like that, but he does make some good points. That's all I want to say.
Extreme views.
Yes.
All right, let's watch the clip.
I agree with the latter point about how everybody's going to lose their freedoms.
What about the first point I've just read out? Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't have to agree with every single point of a tweet. I can agree with the end result of a tweet. I don't know who's
So you
directing.
don't agree with
I
him,
don't know
then?
who's directing.
So you, just to be clear,
well,
so
I don't know
you
who's.
don't
I don't know
think
who's
that
directing
Zionist
these
plants
riots.
on social
I just
media
know the end result.
amplified the riots.
I don't know who's directing these riots. I know the end result. I know why the riots happened in my own personal view because of underrepresentation. I think Keir Starmer's
But
failed.
do
I
you
think
think it was Zionist
our
plants?
political classes sold us out. And I think that the end result is going to be bad times for everyone in the UK. My
Fine.
Muslim brothers are
It's
going to
already
suffer.
bad
Brown
times
people will
for people
suffer.
in the
Christian will
UK.
suffer. Black will suffer. It's bad times
Fine,
for
it's
everybody.
fine.
I'm not going to say who's
I don't need
directing
a
what
speech.
because I'm not sure. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
just
need a
telling you
speech.
exactly why I retweeted that tweet.
Right, so a white supremacist anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, blames Zionist plants for amplifying and directing these riots, and you retweet him.
Do you know who he's talking about when he says that?
Do you? You don't agree with that?
No, I think that people had a legitimate concern.
Thank you. That's all we need.
I think the UK is a powder keg.
I don't need another
You
speech,
agree with
Andrew.
that,
You've
sir.
answered the question.
You agree with Zionists.
It's fine.
You
it's
believe
fine.
that Zionists have
No need
caused
for a
this.
speech.
You do.
No need for a
You
speech.
are an anti-Semite,
Let me read
sir.
to you. Let me read to you comments from the influential Muslim commentator who's been on Uncensored, Muhammad Hijab, who said to you this: "My brother, I've always supported you, but you're severely off the mark on the following points. Your acquiescence to far-right figures like Tommy Robinson is haram, as he is an enemy of Islam. Your lack of condemnation of far-right thugs who attacked a mosque and who attacked Muslims and Islam more generally. Many far-right hooligans want no peace with us. They consider us to be an impossible subject. Our existence frustrates them. You are one of us. They will never accept you fully until you embrace their beliefs. We worship Allah alone and build our purpose on this. No one can compete with this."
So pretty much the tweet that they're referring to was Nick Fuentes said that he feels like Zionist, aka Jewish. Again, his tweet, not the new parties, is the reason why these protests are happening in the UK. So he's also anti-Muslim, so that's why they're like calling him out, because I don't know if you all know this, but Andrew Tate is a Muslim. Gray, what do you think about what they're talking about?
I think it's a lot of Islamophobia. What you say? How you say it? Islamophobia. And a lot of anti-Semitism going on across the world, and I think this is probably why the Holocaust happened, because of so a lot of the misinformation. Saying that they caused this, especially when they're already going in a war right now with each other, is dangerous for Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes just seems to like start a lot of stuff. He's actually attacking Trump's campaign managers as we speak. And he started a movement of attacking them. So it seems like he is indiscriminate in who he'll cause chaos with online, whether it's white, black, Islam, Jewish, and it's just extreme views, and he's pushing it. And I think Andrew Tate is taking advantage of that. And for him to follow Islam and to be partnered with someone like this just doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think, D?
Yeah, I definitely think it stains Andrew Tate's brand to be affiliating himself so much with Nick Fuentes, because Nick's definitely an agitator. Like he says stuff to get reactions out of people. That's how he stays in the
Right.
headlines and stays popular or relevant. So I think that Andrew should definitely try to distance himself somewhat from stuff like that. Because you get a little notoriety from it, but I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think he's doing more damage to himself than good. What about you, Nora?
Yeah, I think that he said it best. That's not his friend. I don't believe they're friends. I believe he's fighting commonality because at the end of the day, this is all to distract us, folks. The point he's making is these people have every right to be upset that the government has allowed uh, migrants to come in, be given cards, be given a place to stay while they're struggling to pay their bills, while they're struggling to buy food for their family. And then people are coming in. Although the person that killed the 3 little girls was there legally and they were a legal migrant, there has been many robberies, many stabbings by illegal migrants. And I think that's the point that's being missed, that these people are angry not for no reason. And yes, they should not be rioting, and I'm not condoning that, but they have every right to be taken to the street to protest because they are angry about the millions and billions of British pounds that are going to illegal migrants.
Yes, but it's
So
like
all of this, wait, one last thing, is a distraction to distract you from that point. So I think that's the point that he's making, is you're bringing up things that have nothing to do with the real issue at hand to distract us. And that happens a lot in America too. I'm sorry, continue.
I was just saying that the anti-immigrant rhetoric it just has got out of control. I mean, I remember watching TV when Trump first said that Mexicans were rapists and thugs and things like that. And what was shocking for me, that was the first time I seen a Republican attack a minority group that wasn't black. So I was like, wow, this is something new. But ever since
Let's
then,
clarify that he did not say. Let's clarify that
Please,
we
this
don't
sounds
want to
like
spread
disinformation.
misinformation here. He didn't say that Mexicans were rapists and thugs. He said that Mexico was sending their rapists.
okay, yeah.
Say all Mexicans. He said that
Raped,
they were
who,
sending.
who raped Lakin? Who raped Lakin Riley? Who raped her? Who murdered and raped her?
You're really talking about one
Yeah,
case. I mean, this
exactly.
is what I'm saying.
Or
You want
or
to?
or what about the little girl? The little girls in New York. It was little girls in New York. The little girl in Denver.
Jackie, don't talk about that. You know what? Don't talk about. This is my point I'm making. People are tired of the fact of the matter is we're allowing people to come into our country, just like at the UK, and we're giving them billions and trillions of our tax-paying dollars to allow them to come in undocumented with no passport, with no way of tracking them, and they're doing crimes. That's the point of this, and that's being missed because you're distracting us. Oh, he's agreeing with the anti-Semite, the racist over there. Yeah, the guy says racist things. I'm not saying he does it. I'm not taking from that, but you're missing the point of why these people are upset. This is all to distract us. This is the psyop, I guess, that they talk about. And I have to say, I agree. Because we're missing the whole point of this discussion of why they were rioting in the UK. And I know we're sticking to what they're talking about, but this is the point of what bringing it all back to.
Okay. Is there another clip?
Yeah, there's one more.
Uh,
Should he apologize for the disinformation.
This is where we have the
Welsh-
false dichotomy. That we have
He was
this is where
somebody
we have the
born
dichotomy
here
of views.
and was legally allowed to be in the country. Do you accept that?
This is where we have the dichotomy of views, which I explained to you earlier on. I explained to you why they exist.
So
If you'd like
do
me to
you
repeat
accept
myself
he was
because the
legally
idea was too
permitted to
complex
be in the
you,
country?
I'm
Yes
happy
or no?
to. I'm happy to repeat myself if you don't understand. But when you don't give people a political outlet and they're trying to protect their children, they're going to go to extreme measures such as, I don't want anybody who looks like they're from anywhere else around me because I do not feel like the police can protect me anymore. And I feel like I have
Right.
more in common and more in synergy with the people who think like and act like and look like me. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
This is not me advocating for anything. This is human nature, sir. This is human
No, it's you
nature that you were
spreading
trying to
lies.
deny so you can sit here and virtue
It's
signal.
you spreading
No,
lies.
this is the truth. This is human
You
nature, which
literally
is the bottom
spread a
line
lie.
truth of things. If the police kept people safe like they do in Dubai, you could have a multicultural society. In Dubai, you have all different cultures, 80% immigration. Everybody praises it as a beautiful place to live because it is safe, because the police. And I'm not going to apologize to anybody who stabbed 3 little girls. Perhaps that's your business, Piers. That's not
He
mine.
wasn't a
As far as
migrant.
I'm
He was
concerned,
born
this
in
person should be
Wales.
solitary for the rest of his
He
life.
was born in
Well,
Wales.
This is where the dichotomy comes in. The dichotomy
There's
I've
no
explained to you 3
dichotomy.
times that you fail to grasp because your mind is
Oh,
not,
I grasp it.
your mind
I
is
grasp
not
it. You don't think
advanced
people
enough,
born
sir.
in the United
You
Kingdom are
don't.
British? Do you now accept that when you said on the 29th of July that there was an illegal immigrant who had perpetrated this crime, that you were wrong?
I accept it looks like the facts of the matter say, in fact, it was a migrant instead of an illegal migrant. However, there's a huge number of crimes committed by illegal migrants, and I still think the country's not safe as long as they're allowed to come into the country.
Fine.
Hey, does your
Wow.
position change?
No,
Go ahead, Dee.
I feel like we do need stronger borders, and I also feel like if I was in one of these countries with no kids, I would want to fix my own country rather than go to somebody else's country. But as far as like people, the anchor babies we talked about, and people who were born here, like I feel like in that the dreamers, the people in that situation, they don't know anything else, and I feel like they are going to get pulled into the anti-immigrant rhetoric. There's going to be people that were born here, that are from here, they end up getting deported or assaulted or whatever because a certain group of people is going to be deemed as evil or as bad. So it's basically like a catch-22. Yes, we need to control the flow of people that come in here, but we also have a diverse country in the UK and America, and we have to protect our citizens. What do you think, D?
I find it real funny that Pierce is more outraged that Andrew called the guy and
He went
stabbing the
out.
3 kids. I really find that kind of strange. Um, and and as far as the problem is that we've learned in the past few years that countries need borders. All countries need borders. It, Immigration is a great thing when it's done in a controlled space. You can't just let tons of people from random places in the country and think that nothing's going to happen. Everywhere
Right.
that they've tried it, it has not worked. It has not worked at a single place yet. They tried it in Sweden,
Exactly.
it's not working. They tried it in America, okay, it's not working. You see, Polish, the country of Poland doesn't have any of these problems. Any of these problems. You know why? Because they don't let foreigners in. They don't let them in like that. They don't have any terrorist attacks in Poland. There's no riots in the streets in Poland. None of that because everybody is on the same page because everybody identifies as Polish first. And I think if everybody had that same mentality, world that. Everybody need to take care of home first. And I'm not against immigration, but it has to be done in a sustainable way. And just opening the borders for everybody, that is not sustainable. What about you, Nora?
Well, I agree, and that's the point I was making, that all of this is distracting from that point about all this extra stuff that they keep talking about to take from the validity of their points. And this is the closing clip that we have. That Andrew Tate brought up a lot of good points. So this is the last clip.
Piers, you have to be careful sitting here on your show telling people that unless they said what you want them to say, they're not allowed to be on the internet. You are talking Stalinist.
When did I say that?
It's communist. It's
When did I
dangerous.
say that?
And that's exactly what you
When
said.
did I say
You
that?
said that anyone
You're
who says
lying
anything
again.
online is causing the riots
lying
themselves
again.
directly, and they're directly
You're lying
responsible.
again.
And there's no powder keg in the UK due to a failure of the
No,
policing and the
you're
judiciary
lying.
and the politicians. And you're sitting here, and I'm telling you, Piers, the things you're advocating for are going to cause more death and destruction than that vaccine you pushed or that country you support as they bomb little children. Piers, be very careful what you say.
Yeah, listen, I'll take your lectures morning, noon, and night. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. But would you like to take this opportunity finally to tell the rioters to stop rioting? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Well, considering I've been saying that for the last 4 days on Twitter and you didn't read any of the tweets out, they should be in front of you. There's at least 30. Let me make it clear to the people on both sides of the equation, all of my brothers in Islam and all of the Christians and native people of the UK who feels exactly like you are. There's no reason for UK, one of the greatest countries in the world, one of the largest empires in history, to be plunged into poverty if it wasn't being looted by a political class that do not care about you. And the people who do not care about you, the number one thing they want is the different breeds or different types or different categories of poor people to fight so nobody looks up and sees who the real enemy is. Britain can be a rich country and it can be prosperous and it can be safe and it can be regulated and the police can respond and it can be as beautiful as a lot as the first world Islamic nations are. There's no reason why it has to be the way it is unless a political class was failing the people who they're supposed to represent for generations. And that's where this anger and hatred comes from. Not because a video was made on Twitter. That is so infantile and asinine to believe that some little video on Twitter started all of these things.
Here's what
That is what's happening. So stop rioting amongst each other and realize who the real enemy of your freedom is. When you understand the truth about this world, listen, I was born on a Luton council estate and now I have hundreds of millions of dollars. And let me promise you.
So, in summary, I absolutely agree. We have more in common with each other, the left, the right, the middle, everything, than they want us to think. This is by design. I truly do think they want people to fight against each other when the reality is we should be working with each other. And I know that sounds altruistic, so I'll let Gray go and say what he thinks.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. We definitely have more in common than we have different, and we should all work with each other. I think I'm not going to blame the right or the left for who's the person fueling this, but I feel like if we actually paid attention and said, okay, we want this law passed and we want this law passed, and actually work together to push what we actually wanted instead of people, we will actually be in a much better place, honestly.
That's what Nick Fuentes is doing right now, by the way. I'm not advocating for him by no means, but the reason why he's causing chaos is because he wants Trump, before he says, I'm voting for you, to agree to not send any further money to Ukraine and Israel. That's what he's doing.
I don't think Trump has the power to say that, and he doesn't want that to hurt him. If you have to remember, Republicans were the war hawks before this. This is just new with Trump that they're not the people who want to be the world police. So I think he was putting Trump in a bad predicament to try to force Trump to have to say something like that.
And also hurting Trump. But let us know what you think in the chat. Are you okay with a ban on social media on what to say or not to say if it's going to cause hurt or harm? Are you okay with what are your thoughts on the UK riots? Those in the UK, what are your thoughts on what Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan talked about in their interview? Also, tomorrow we have a big show coming. We're going to be doing clips from the Donald Trump and the Elon Musk interview. It appears that Trump is back on X. Gray, any closing words?
Like, share, subscribe, always vote.
Always vote.